Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you all for joining today's Learning Lab. So for an exciting Learning Lab today, we're going to be taking you through one of Sage's new features, and that's the AP automation that came out last month to us. So firstly, before we get going on today's session, let me just start with those introductions. So for those of you that don't know me, I'm Fiona. I work in the customer success team here at Acuity, and leading today's session is going to be Shuaib, and Shuaib is one of our Intacct consultants in the professional services team. I'll also just go through a little bit of housekeeping now, as I usually do. So microphones will be muted throughout of today's session. There is a question box in the GoToWebinar panel on the right-hand side of your screen. So any questions you have as we go through, please, you can pop them in there and I will read them out at the end of today's session. Or there is also the opportunity to take yourself off mute at the end of the session. I'll say we'll open up now for questions and you can take yourself off mute and ask any questions at that time as well. Finally, today's session is being recorded, so if you have any colleagues that was unable to make today, or you wanted to revisit this back at a later time, the recording will be sent to you via email after the session is finished, so please do feel free to share that around with whoever was unable to make today. I think that's all the housekeeping from me, so I will pass you over to Shuaib to get started. Thanks.
Thank you, Fiona. Good afternoon, everyone. I hope the session is very informative to you, and hope that it can improve your day-to-day processing within Intacct. Okay, so we got the agenda over here. I'll just go through about AP automation, just make some sense around that. And then there's two ways you can make use of AP automation. It's uploading AP invoices and emailing AP invoices. I'll go through both of the different ways to basically use AP automation. Okay, and then we got coming soon, which is the purchase automation and order matching. I'll touch on this, but when Sage do launch this, I don't know if we will have another learning lab around this. So just keep your eyes open on the release notes around purchase automation and order matching. Okay, so just about AP automation. So AP automation just creates a draft invoice from the invoice document by either simply uploading it or emailing the invoice to Sage Intacct. So AP automation makes use of artificial intelligence and machine learning to populate invoice details based on your invoice document. So all your details that lie within there, Sage Intacct will try to retrieve majority or if not all the information possible and populate it on your invoice. So the reason why it creates a draft is because if it does make an error, you have the ability to go into the draft and obviously double check it and then come back to it and make any changes that you want to do. So just a tip on that is that because it's built on artificial and machine learning, it learns as you post. So the more you post, the better the machine learning and the more accurate your uploads will be, or your automation will be. Okay, and then just some benefits on AP automation. It decreases in manual entering of invoices and increases efficiency. It also saves time for resources to be used elsewhere. So yeah, we look forward to saving some time on that. Okay, so uploading AP invoices or AP purchase invoices. So once your AP automation has been configured and or enabled and ready to use, you'll have an option on your AP screen that will have an upload button. So this is what you will use to upload any document, invoice documents. Okay, and then when you upload your invoices, there will be two required fields that needs to be selected or populated. That is your location over there. So your location is generally it's telling Intacct where to basically create this draft, and also you don't have to populate that location on your invoice when you're posting it. So it's almost like, I would say it's almost like a default for a certain amount of invoices that you are uploading. So you can select your location over there. And then the second option is generate each AP purchase invoice with a single line item that summarizes the totals. So this is just a summary of the invoice. If you have like 10 lines, for example, 10 entry lines on your invoice, this will summarize all 10 lines into one line, so it will just give you one line and one total. And then all line items and associated amounts, that is the recommended option over here. So selecting that one will just give you that 10 lines. It will basically populate each of the lines and the associated amounts with it, and any other dimensions that is tagged to it if you are tagging any dimensions against it. Okay. Once you've selected your required fields, down at the bottom is where you will browse for your files. You can select multiple files, so it says they upload up to 30 unencrypted, and then your file types, and the maximum size of the file should be 20 megabytes. Okay, you can also drag and drop, which I find much more efficient than browsing for your files. Instead of locating where your files are, you just basically drag and drop your files into this area over here. Okay, when you're done doing that, a table at the bottom of this will appear. So it will tell you all your files that you've uploaded, the name of the file, and it will give you the size of the file as well. Once you've happy with the amount of files and the files that has been uploaded, there will be a success message to say that maybe you've uploaded an incorrect file type, for example. That will tell you that it failed to upload, which you then can remove from the table. And then once you're happy, you can just click create AP purchase invoice. After creating AP purchase invoice, Sage Intacct will basically start to analyze all your invoice documents, and then you give it about 30 seconds to a minute and just click the refresh button, and then it will be populated on Intacct. Okay. So before I move on to the email, I just want to run through the upload of AP purchase invoices on Intacct, and just to give you a visualization of what I'm talking about. Okay, so over here I've got just basically a template invoice or testing invoice that I've created or set up. So I'm going to use this invoice and just upload it to Intacct. So if I just go on to Intacct, so this is my AP purchase invoice screen. So over here you can see I've got my upload button over there. Once I click upload, again I need to select my location. That is my sub locations, and then that is my entity location. So I'm just going to have it be created in my entity location. Okay, and then generate each AP purchase invoice with. I'm going to select all lines with items because that's the recommended selection. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to drag and drop this into that field over there. Okay, I'm just going to pop it there. Then we'll get a table, upload documents. So you can see the progress is 100%. So that just says that it's analyzed the file type basically and accepted the file type. Then we got our file name and our size over there. So everything is over here. I can go ahead and click create AP purchase invoice. Okay, and then I'll press OK. So you can see this line over here, it doesn't have much details on it. So that's the invoice that is being uploaded. So you can see that the state is analyzing. That just says that Intacct is busy analyzing the document that you've uploaded, and then it will also give you the source. So you can see AP purchase invoice upload. So that just says that I've added this invoice via the upload feature. And then while we're waiting on that, I just want to go through some of this. So this I've posted uploaded yesterday or a few days ago. So you can see here it says email. So that's our source. So that just says that I've emailed this document through to Sage Intacct instead of uploading it, and the rest is AP purchase invoice upload. Okay, another additional column that is included with AP automations is import exceptions. So you can see that these ones over here all have dashes, which means there was no exception. However, this one over here, the system is picking up that this particular invoice might just be a duplicate, and the invoice already exists within the system. Okay. The other exception is resolve. So when it says resolve, there is a lot of missing information that Intacct couldn't pick up or analyze. So then it will tell you to resolve something within that document. So while we're on the duplicate version of this, I'm just going to go ahead and click edit next to it, just to show you that I am able to go to the invoice that is a duplicate. So it says the submitted AP purchase invoice duplicates an existing AP purchase invoice. So if I click on here, it will take me to the invoice that it's referring to. So from here, I can make a comparison to what information is over here and check. I just double check if it is a duplicate. Okay, just another one. Another thing I want to go through while Intacct is analyzing. It should be done analyzing by now. Yep, so it's done analyzing. So if we go into edit, notice that my screen is a split view, so I can see that this is the normal AP invoice screen when you're creating an invoice, which you should be familiar with, and then I've got my invoice on the right. So the option to get this screen like this, I just want to go through it. So that you go into my preferences, okay, and then you can just search for split. Okay, so it's this one over here. Enable split view and show split view on page load. So that just allows you to have that split screen view when viewing invoices that has been uploaded or you making use of AP automation. So it makes it easier to compare information to see if it did populate correctly. Okay, so just some things I want to run through on the invoice itself. So you can see that it picked up our supplier, Coil Empire Customs, which is over there, Coil Empire Customs, that's our supplier, so we know that is correct. And then AP purchase invoice number, it's also pulled through the AP purchase invoice number over there. Okay, so just one thing to note here is the terms. If you have terms set up on the supplier, the due date on the invoice is not overriding the term due date. Okay, so it will take the term will be priority in this case. So if you leave the terms excluded from the supplier record, it will look for the due date within the invoice document. Okay, so we can see that this due date is set to the 30th of the 11th month and this due date is the 31st of the 10th month. Okay, you can see there's a difference in the due date, so I'm just going to leave that as is for let's just say that me and my supplier have an agreement that I will pay you every 30 days. Okay, and then again over here we have attachments. So this attachment here is the attachment itself, the document, the invoice document itself, so it attaches that automatically. And then at the table at the bottom you can see that it's populated certain amounts. Okay, so if we look at the first thing, it didn't populate any accounts. The way, if you want to have this auto populated, what you can do is go on the the supplier record. If I just go back into top level, so supply, if I go into suppliers, let's just edit one. And then I think it's on, yeah, okay, yeah. So on the additional information tab of the suppliers, you have your default expense account. So you can select an expense account over here. So every time you create an invoice, the default account over there will populate with that default expense account over there. So if you know that the supplier, for example, is always being posted to, let's say ingredients purchased, for example, you will have that, it will be much easier or recommended to just have that default expense accounts populated as ingredients purchased. So the first thing I want to do here is I'm going to check the amounts. So I can see that the amount is not adding up to me. So we can see that the first line amount is £3,840, but the first line amount over here is £3,200. So just to note here that it is coming soon is the automation of the tax details. We can see that this invoice obviously contains tax over there, and there is no tax calculated on this upload. Okay, so what you want to do is you should have this little drop down that says tax information. So you want to click that drop down and just tick the inclusive of taxes checkbox. Okay, so on the right now, what you want to do is you want to add the tax detail that it is using. So I think let's just go with UK purchase goods standard rate, that one. Good standard rate. Let's just make them all UK standard rate. Okay. So now we can see that if I just click away. The full transaction amount over there is included, inclusive of taxes. If we scroll down over to the left, the actual amount 3,200 corresponds now with 3,200, 450 corresponds with 450, and 600 corresponds with 600. So that's just that's the easiest way we found to generate or to populate the tax details on the AP purchase invoice automation part of it. Okay, so next we want to do is we want to add our account, so it's not always going to pick up what account to post to. So that, like I said, the more you post, the more Intacct basically learns from you, and you're posting your process of posting anything. Okay, so I'm just gonna set this to ingredients purchased, and this should be packaging, and this is advertising. Advertising. Okay. So I'm required to add a department because this sales demo is set up to have a department required to posting to these accounts. So I'm just going to populate this manually. So I'm just going to say they're all marketing. So you can see that certain fields obviously is not always populated. So you have to populate certain fields manually, but it does save a lot of time. And then once you're happy with everything, you can go ahead and click post, because if you just click draft, it's just going to stay in the draft state. So currently it is in the draft state, so we want to have it post. So we can just go ahead and post that. So you can see now that this one here should be posted. The state is posted. Okay. I can just go back to my slides. Okay. Okay, so emailing AP purchase invoices, it's very similar to uploading of AP purchase invoices. So there's just one config that you need to do is which is the configuration of the email services. So you can see here we got generate each AP purchase invoice with. So this option on your upload. So every time you upload invoices, you will have to select your generate each purchase AP purchase invoice with. With email addresses, you set it in under the AP config section. So you set it, and then every time you do email any invoices, it will basically use the one that you've selected. So you don't have to select it all the time, or you don't have to specify it constantly. Okay, and then when AP automation is enabled, each entity or each location will have a mailbox assigned to it, which is generated by Sage Intacct. So you can see that top level over here will have an outzilla314@sagemail.com, and then we got the entity 100, which also have another email address, which is the 100 tag to the top level's email address. Okay, so this email addresses is used to specify the location you want to send that invoice to. So we're going to send it to E100, which is Outzilla. So we're going to make use of this email address over here. That's just specifying that that's my location of this particular invoice. Okay, that's the only config around AP automation. It's not much to do. The only thing to note is the mailbox that you're going to use. So you don't want to be sending invoices to the incorrect mailbox, or you don't want suppliers, for example, to be using the incorrect mailbox when sending invoices over. I find this very useful in terms of I can send this to my suppliers, for example. I can send this email address to my suppliers and tell them to basically CC this email address onto the invoice that they're sending to me. So when I do get an email to my personal box, I should expect it to be analyzed by Sage Intacct automatically, so I don't have to do anything further than that, but to double check that the invoice document and the invoice created, or the draft created by Intacct, corresponds with one another. Okay, so I'm just gonna go ahead and email this. I'll just pop back into Sage Intacct. If I go to accounts payable, setup, configuration, if I scroll down, should be here somewhere. Sorry, I'm at entity level, so you can only do this at top level. So just make sure if you're making use of multi-entity environment, that you do this at top level. So going to configuration. and scroll down. So we'll have a section that says AP purchase invoice automation settings. Um, on the email services, we can click on configure. So I've already set mine to all line items with associated amounts. By default, it's set to a single line item that summarizes the total. So just make sure that if you are going to use AP automation, that you do come in over here and make this change over here. Okay, so the email addresses are listed over here. You cannot change it because it's already been generated by Sage Intacct. So I'm just going to copy this email address. I'm just going to forward an invoice to this email address, and then we'll take it from there. Okay, so I'm just going to click on save, and then just open up my emails, new email. Okay, so you can just send it to that invoice. You don't need a subject line. You don't need a body as well. So you can just drag and drop the invoice to that. So I'm just going to drag and drop. Oops. Okay, so I'm just going to drag and drop that and just send it. Send anyway. Okay. So one thing to note about when emailing it. So when you do email it, there is no indication that Sage Intacct is busy analyzing it. You just have to wait and see if it does appear on the list or not. So even if I do click refresh, it doesn't show me that it is being analyzed like it would when you upload an invoice. So we'll just give it about a minute or two, or 30 seconds. Should be okay with that. While that is being basically processed through Intacct, I um, can go through the purchasing side. So like I said, this is coming soon. So what this will allow you to do is instead of converting invoices over from an order, a purchase order to a purchase invoice, this will just allow you to match transactions. So when you do get an invoice from a supplier and you already have the purchase order within Intacct, Intacct will basically match that as long as the purchase order number is on the invoice document. So to pick up that the order number on the invoice, and then it will match the two together, just making things a little bit easier for you instead of going into each transaction or purchase order and converting it. So that allows you to do that. And then when on purchase order automation, you have two options that needs to be set up, which is your target and your source. The target is a transaction that should be created as a draft. So like I said, purchase order to purchase invoice. So you want to say, okay, from a purchase order to an invoice, my target must be an invoice. Okay. And then the source, basically what it says, the transaction that should be matched to the draft created. Okay, so if we're creating a purchase invoice draft, we want to match it to a purchase order that's already been created. Okay, and then once a draft has been created and matched to a purchase transaction, you will have the option to basically unmatch the two by basically changing the draft transaction to a purchase invoice, AP purchase invoice, just a normal AP purchase invoice. So that will just unmatch the two and not link it in any way. So it's basically it will go back into this stage over here. So it will just upload it as a normal AP purchase invoice and not link it to any purchase orders or purchase invoices in that case. So that is, we look forward to Sage's release notes on that and demo on that, so we can basically, how do I say, inform our customers about that and give a little demo about it as well. Okay, so that email should be done. So we can see that now our source over there is email, and then the state is draft again. So it will always create a draft. It will never ever post your invoices for you or on behalf of you. Okay, so the same thing over here. You can come in and edit. You can see again it generated the information, so it picked up the supplier and then obviously paid to and returned to is auto generated by the or from the supplier record. And then we have our AP purchase invoice number, which corresponds, and then like I said before, the date is not overridden. So just make sure if your due date is set to the 31st, and then just come in and do change it if necessary. Okay, again over here the amounts doesn't match each other, so I'm just going to do the same thing I did before, So there's not much of a difference between uploading an email. The difference is just like it says, I'm uploading or I'm email. The process thereafter remains the same. So I'm just gonna add the tax details in again. UK purchase goods standard rate. UK purchase goods standard rate. Okay, and then I'm just gonna add my account again. Okay. Okay, so everything now does match up. Again, yeah, I do need to add a department in my case because it is required. In everyone's case, it will be obviously customer specific in terms of what dimensions is required. Okay, so I'm good to go with that, so I can click post. Okay, so this is basically AP automation. It's fairly simple. It's either you're uploading or you're emailing. You can email or upload multiple files at once and then take it from there. Once it's been analyzed, it will be ready for you in Sage Intacct AP purchase invoices. Under the state will be drafts, so you know, okay, those drafts need to be checked. Or yeah, so it needs to be checked and then it needs to be posted as well. So yeah, I don't think there is much to it anyway, to AP automation besides that. When purchase order automation and matching is released, I'm pretty sure there will be more features around this, or uh, better handling between, because we know that some of our customers does use purchasing, so we want to make the process easier, a lot easier. So it will be good to have purchase automation and AP automation basically speaking to one another and making everyone's process easier. Okay, I think that's it from me. Wasn't a long session from my side. Wasn't that long because there isn't much to it. It's just basically the process of how it works and how to basically process your data to Intacct using AP automation. Okay, thanks everyone. I'll hand it over back to Fiona now. I think she's gonna go through a few more bits and pieces. Yeah. Okay.
Thanks, Shuaib. Yeah, just one final thing from me is on the next slide. So this there is a fee involved with this feature. I've put the prices there on screen for you. It's done per number of documents per month. So you can see there 250 documents a month is £79, and you get slight discount with the more documents that you process each month. If you do think you're going to go over the 2,000 documents there, that's stated on the fourth tier there. If you think you're going to go over that, then do get in touch with us and I can get a price for you on what it will be for anything more than 2,000 documents per month. So yeah, I think that's everything from that pricing side of things. It's easy to enable. There is no real config involved. It's just the ongoing documents per month that will be chargeable. Okay, right, if we just flick onto the next slide there, we will now open up for any questions. Like I said at the start, you have the opportunity now to take yourself off mute and you can ask any questions away. There have been none so far in the question box, but we'll give it just a minute. So if you do have anything that you'd like me to read out, then pop them in the question box now, or take yourself off mute. So I'll just give that a moment. Thanks. Okay, it doesn't look as though there's any questions coming at the moment. However, if you do have any questions that come to you after today's session's over, you know my email address. It'll be on the screen at the end of this there we go, it's on the screen now. There's my email address, so if you do have any questions following this session, then please do not hesitate to just drop me an email. It's a really, we have a couple of customers already using the AP automation feature, and they've got great benefits from it. So hopefully we'll see a few more of you using it in the future. Our next learning lab will be on the 14th of November, and we're going to be looking at bank reconciliation, best practices, and automation. So please keep a lookout. There should be an invite coming to you shortly for that one. Also, this week or today, we would have also sent out an NPS survey. So it would be great if we would really appreciate it if you could complete that and get that sent back to us. We really appreciate your feedback. And also, if you have any suggestions for any future learning labs that you'd like to see, we really welcome any feedback or suggestions on those. Okay, I think that is everything from us. So thank you all so much for joining us today. Really hope that you found the session useful. If you do have any questions, then please reach out to me. And thanks, Shuib, for putting that on for us. Thank you
Welcome.
all.
Thanks, everyone.
See you all. Bye.
Bye-bye.